Good test. And Paulie, this is a really cool hole, the short par 4 13th.
Yeah, 350 is not very long in the modern standards. It's generous off the tee because the players are only hitting 3 or 4 iron here. You got to hit a 240 off the tee, and that'll leave you only 100 to the front. So 240 nowadays downhill is probably only a 4 iron for these players without wind. But the difficulty is not in the tee shot. You know, those bunkers will easily be avoided with irons off the tee. The difficulty is in the second shot there with, you know, somewhat of an island green. It's only 100 yards, it's a wedge, but with a swirling wind down in the valley there, you know, getting the distance right is important. We've seen Mickelson spin it off that green before back into the water, and it's well, I think we're going to see Phil here. I mean, this is what can happen with, you know, should the golf course become softer with this rain that's coming. But he didn't hit the right shot in there. You got to be pitching it past the flag there. He misjudged that to hit that back in the water. It's a really good hole. This has Rory been a lot more aggressive off the tee there, and you know, only hitting a flick of it looked like something like a lob wedge in there, close. I think it would be a fun hole if they had to move the tee up to make it like 310. How about that?
Yeah. Well, Johnson Wagner is down at 13 live, and Johnson, welcome. How do you think they're going to approach the 13th this week?
Well, Rich, I think it would be cool if it was 310, and I think they did that in the Ryder Cup, and in best ball, a lot of guys were taking a crack at this green. I don't personally see anybody going to this green. There's not a good place to miss it with that kind of stick. Tee shot, like Paulie said, plays 15 downhill, and I think most guys are going to hit it out here in the 255 range. It's the widest part of the fairway at 34 yards wide, but downhill, that's a 240 shot. Talked to a lot of players, a lot of hybrids off this tee, a lot of long irons. And this fairway shouldn't be hard to hit, but sometimes on these layup holes, players will put a little bit of pressure on themselves knowing how important it is to hit the fairway. What we're gonna do tonight is show you what can happen if you miss the fairway. So right here, sprinkler head up here is 98 yards to the front, toss the ball over here. This rough is standing straight up. This ball has a tendency to sit right to the bottom. I've thrown a few over here. I've seen some good ones, and I've seen some that are a for sure layup for most players in this field. Oh yeah, we're in good shape here. We got a pretty good lie. And so 97 yards to the front. Normally I would hit my 56 degree in that situation, thanks to the help of my esteemed caddy, Andrew Bradley, the best lead field producer in the business. I'm gonna go to my 50 degree just in case this rough slows it down just a little bit more. 50 degree, 96 or so yards to the front edge. This stuff is thick. That was a pretty darn good lie. It's the best I've seen. I think I've done it. Oh, baby, up on top of the right tier, too. One thing that's really cool this week that I've been noticing, and it was a pretty awesome sight when I first saw this hole yesterday. One of the many changes to the club since 14 is they exposed this limestone outcropping behind the green, and I just think it's absolutely fantastic. All right, so over here down the left side, this is gonna be the better miss. That right side has a tough angle. This left side, if you are to miss the fairway, is the better miss. And look what happens to this ball just 3 yards off the fairway. Oh. I'm gonna hit it. I don't know that I can get it to the green. I don't even know if Paul McGinley, as strong as he is, could get that one to the green. But we're gonna give it a crack here. Andrew, what do you think? 56 out of this lie? Yeah, let's go one less. We're gonna take the 56 degree here. And I'm swinging this basically as hard as I can. The blades of this grass is just so thick. Taking on a lot of risk here, trying to cover. Go.
Get up.
Good club, Andrew. We got one more ball?
He's getting cocky.
He's having a good week, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting cocky now.
Least favorite shot that I can play. least favorite shot of professional, in my opinion, I wish Brandel was out here to hit this one, is an awkward 90-yard fairway bunker shot. Brandel, would you agree with that?
I would, yeah. They give me the heebie-jeebies. I'm not a fan either.
Well, Rich, you mentioned John Ballard and his crew. We've been out here for a little bit. These guys came out and raked this bunker twice, just teaching the amount of volunteer staff that they have. These bunkers are perfect, but still, 90 yards, probably 75, 78 yards to cover the front edge with a wedge in hand. We're literally 6 yards away from perfection there in the fairway. This is, Brandel, you're going to do this tomorrow night. Oh, come on. Hey, Steve, maybe at you. Oh, well, I think I'm going to go home. I don't think I can do any better than that, guys. But it literally should be a lot harder if you miss this fairway.
Johnson, this rough is what? It's bluegrass and fescue. I'm just wondering. I think that's what it is. I'm wondering, could you catch a flyer out of this stuff? I mean, is there a chance of players maybe perhaps being happy that they got a decent lie? What are the chances of catching a flyer out of this stuff?
I don't see it very high. That being said, I'm very shallow with my approach, and so I catch a lot of grass. Maybe some guys like a Jake Knapp or a Rahm that are way more on top of it, maybe. But given the wetness of it and the thickness, I think there's just too much grass in between the club and the ball right now.
What about the miss, Johnson? Obviously, being an island green, it looks like there's nowhere else to miss it except being on the green. I mean, is that the case?
There's only a little bit of room past, so if you're looking at the flag, just to the right of the flag, it goes straight into the penalty area, and it's a pretty shallow green. It's only 28 yards deep, but right at the 13, the camera tower, there is a little bit of rough back there that the ball can stop, but it's thick as well, and you're chipping straight back downhill, so it's certainly not going to be an easy up and down from there.
And Johnson, you don't think players are going to try to lay it? Because we just saw a video of Rory who'd laid it up well down the fairway to shorten that little shot in there. You don't think too many players are going to challenge that and try to push it more towards the end of the fairway?
Brandel, I don't. When we first got out here, I wanted to inspect the divots. Members haven't been playing here other than one weekend since November, so there are no divots on property. And as I got up closer to the end of the fairway, there's only a handful of divots. And what that brings in, it brings in these two bunkers big time. And also this penalty area starts a little on that right-hand side. The penalty area starts in that, and it's not, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I think you're bringing too much trouble into play, and you're almost giving yourself an awkward distance of 65, 70 yards.
Very good, Johnson. I think you've covered things well there. I think our next move is put you on CSI there, looking for the divots and the evidence. I think you're a man of many talents.
Johnson, thanks,
guys.
brother.
Have a great rest of the show.
That's 2 nights in a row. He hadn't shanked one. He hadn't fatted one. He's been spot on. I mean, he's sharp as Rory coming in here.
Johnson has some game. I mean, he's a 3-time PGA Tour winner, but it could be a dramatic spot. Sunday, guy misses the fairway. He's in the rough. Decision to make. You could lose the tournament, it feels like, right at that spot.
Yeah, you could. I mean, as Johnson said, I don't think they're going to move the tee box up. They did in 2008 Ryder Cup, but it probably would slow down play too much there by making it a drivable par 4. But there will be some drama there, and interestingly, as he said there, if the greens do get very soft, you could have the option of screwing it back into the water.